All 4 of those were shot at 7 yards with my Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 380. The only difference was different types of ammunition for each shot. Now recently I did a presentation comparing snub-nose .38 specials to your typical concealed carry type of 380 autos, and I mentioned that ammunition selection is an important part of the process, which brought up the question, what is a good choice for ammunition for your concealed carry 380? Well, let's see if we can shed some light on that. So how do you select the right ammo for your concealed carry handgun? It can be a somewhat complex process. Now to start with, let's leave 380 ACP out of this equation for a moment. And what I normally tell people is before you select the right carry ammo, select the right practice ammo. Now bear with me for a minute. A lot of concealed carry handguns have non-adjustable or only semi-adjustable sights. So you've got to find the right ammo that hits where your sights are aligned, and different brands of ammo will hit in different places in some guns. You've also got to find something that functions properly in your handgun, fits your budget, and is available at your local stores. And then once you find the right practice ammo, then go back and buy the jacketed hollow point version of that exact same thing, and that'll be a good carry ammo. For example, 45 ACP, 230 grain round nose metal case, Remington calls it metal case, 230 grain jacketed hollow point. 9mm, 115 grain round nose metal case, 115 grain jacketed hollow point. And there you go. Easy. Now that is not the right solution for every gun and every situation, but it is a good place to start. Right about now is when people ask me about all the hyper ammunitions, critical duty, critical defense, golden saber, the list goes on. Well, there's no question that I am not a big fan of the hyper ammunitions. I don't think you're getting the most bang for your buck. And when I say that, I am buried under all the reasons people give of why they think hyper ammunition is so great. It's more powerful, it's more accurate, it has less muzzle flash, the list goes on ad nauseum. And I have video presentations dealing with some of those topics, and you can watch them. But the bottom line is, in anything I've seen, hyper ammunition is for the most part just hype. Now, let's bring 380 ACP into this equation. And here's the problem. If you just want full metal jacket round nose ammunition for practice, that's easy. You get Federal, you get PMC, you get your Remington metal case. No problem, readily available everywhere. But finding a jacketed hollow point version of these ammunitions is hard. If Remington makes a jacketed hollow point version of this, I've never seen it. So even if it exists, it's not available at my local stores, and you've got to get something that's available to you. Winchester white box ammunition in a full metal jacket round nose everywhere. But it took me multiple trips to 6 or 7 different stores to find this box of 380 ACP jacketed hollow point. So not only is a regular ammunition in jacketed hollow point difficult to obtain for 380s, the performance I've found has been lacking. Back in the days when Remington ammo was typically a green and yellow box, I had some 380 ACP jacketed hollow points, and they just didn't perform that well. This white box Winchester 95 grain jacketed hollow point, well, let me show you something. And there's your result with the Winchester 95 grain jacketed hollow point, as the expansion was minimal to none. And that performance, or lack thereof, is very typical of what I've found in off-the-shelf 380 ACP hollow points. I do want to point out that in other calibers, 45 ACP, 40 Smith & Wesson 9mm, I've been very happy with the results I've gotten from this Winchester white box ammo. But in 380 ACP, this and other brands come up really short. Now, some people will say that that water jug test is not valid because you can't compare the expansion in water to the expansion in the intended target. Well, a jug of water is an almost perfect medium for hollow point expansion. If it won't expand in that jug of water, it is not going to expand in the intended target. So what do? Well, here's where you resort to your hyper ammunitions. But that comes with a couple of caveats. A lot of people will buy hyper ammunition, and because it's 3, 4, 5 times more expensive than your regular ammo, they'll put that in their concealed carry gun and never test it. And the problem arises in that some hyperammunitions won't function properly in some guns. And a lot of times, although the hyperammunition will shoot accurately, it won't hit in the same place your practice ammo does. So when you carry hyperammunition, you've got to shoot up a couple of boxes of it to make sure it hits where you want and cycles correctly. I know easier said than done when you're talking about stuff that's $30 and $40 per box. But what about the effectiveness of hyper ammo? Well, I've got some Speer Gold Dot, Hornady Critical Defense, Remington Golden Saber. Let's shoot some of this stuff and see what kind of results we get. And I'll try to come up with a target that's more analogous to the intended target. This is what we call the meat target. Now it's a pork steak to simulate a pectoral muscle, then pork ribs, then we'll simulate lung tissue with this bag of grapefruit, then more pork ribs, and behind it, as always, the high-tech fleece bullet stop. And we'll cover it with 4 layers of denim because that's what the FBI says, and that's what people want to see these days, so there we go. And I'll go back 7 yards and shoot it with the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. Now the first 2 shots will be Remington Golden Saber 102 grain jacketed hollow point, and the next 2 shots will be Speer Gold Dot 90 grain jacketed hollow point. Then we'll recover the bullets, see how much they expanded, how much they penetrated, how much damage they did. So how'd we do? Frankly, not all that well. You can see our Golden Sabers expanded very little, and our Gold Dots, although they expanded a little more, it wasn't really consistent. Now 3 of the 4 bullets went clear through the target and were stuck in the first or second layer of fleece. The one that didn't was the one Gold Dot that expanded, and it was stuck in the ribs on the back. So what's our meat target look like? Well, there's a couple of places in the front where the bullet hit the ribs and broke them. And then it went through our grapefruit lung tissue. Now there's one that's chewed up really well. I think that was our one hollow point that expanded. The rest all just have holes in them. And we had on the ribs in the back, the bullets went through and one bullet got stuck in there. So in that our 380, being relatively low powered, gave us 100% penetration with most of those bullets. That's a plus. But as far as hollow point expansion, that was really disappointing. Now the 2 Remington Golden Saber bullets, the hollow points of the bullets were stuffed full of denim. And that's what happens when you shoot through 4 layers of denim. So did that prevent our hollow points from expanding? Well, let's try our Hornady Critical Defense ammunition, and that's a ballistic tip, so has no hollow point to get stuffed full of denim. Let's see if that does any better. So we've got a new meat target set up, and I'll go back 7 yards and shoot with our Hornady Critical Defense 90 grain ballistic tip bullet. Let's see if that does any better. And there's what our bullets look like. You can see one lost its jacket, but generally speaking, the expansion was really impressive. So what does the meat target look like? Well, where the bullets hit the ribs, they broke them. Chewed up our grapefruit lung tissue. I mean, that's actually some pretty good performance. And all of the bullets achieved 100% penetration, and they were all stopped by the first layer of fleece, which means that you'll get good penetration, but not so much danger for over-penetration. So what's the bottom line of all this? Well, as I said at the beginning, ammunition selection is an important part of the process. And I got to tell you, in other calibers, 40 Smith & Wesson, 9mm, I have not been that impressed with the Hornady Critical Defense ammo. But in 380 ACP, looks like a real winner. Now there's one downside. You notice when I was shooting this that there was a delay in firing? That's because I had to clear a malfunction. The other ammunition didn't expand so well, but at least it all functioned properly. And of course I've shot a lot more rounds than just what you saw here on camera. So there's always a trade-off, and like I said before, not all hyper ammunitions are going to function properly in all guns. So you got to run it through your gun to see what you get. But if your gun will function correctly with this critical defense ammo, looks like a good choice to me. There's one more thing I want to show you. Now earlier I said that I was unable to find the jacketed hollow point version of this Remington green and white box ammo. Well, now it's a couple of days later and I found some. Remington green and white box 380 ACP 88 grain jacketed hollow point. However, this still represents many trips to many stores to find this stuff, so it doesn't change my earlier point that it's not readily available. But since I've got some, let's shoot it at the meat target and see what kind of results we get. And here's our results. These are 3 of the rounds I shot at the meat target through the 4 layers of denim, and then off camera I removed the 4 layers of denim and just shot the meat target, and those were the results. Not really consistent, but pretty good expansion. So the performance of our off-the-shelf 380 hollow points didn't seem to be all that great. And I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of the hyper ammunitions. But in a really compact concealed carry 380, a hyper ammunition might be something you want to look at. Another factor too is, how realistic do you think the 4 layers of denim standard is? Something to think about. So as always, don't try this at home, I'm what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the 380 ammo selection video.